Okay, hello and welcome in from Sunnyvale, California. I'm Mark Vierra. This is my technical analysis video, and happy Father's Day, dads. And you can find me HotStockMarket.com. I have some where I keep track of my trades. You can check that out. This video is no buying or selling recommendations, just going to go over some basic things in technical analysis, and of course, past results are no guarantee of the future. So here is the week that was. We're up 6.65% for the month, down 0.68% for the week. We're 3.41% for the quarter, and 4.75% for the year, and just 1% off of the 1955 highs. So I've got a couple of charts queued up, starting off with the monthly S&P 500. I always say the emphasis is to be played on the candle that's closed, which is a bullish candle. The current monthly candle has previous top support there, and getting a little bit of an up thrusting out of so the trend line resistance is being respected right now. I think that's what the theme for this video is either going to be. We have clues in volume, or resistance becomes support, and we're going to see that in a lot of these charts. Like I always say, here is your previous resistance, and that's where we're going to be getting support from. Just very, very basic. Also, there's this movement here that I was calling three soldiers. It's always just go by this old 1/3 rule. Is you're always going to see some sort of retracement from a strong move. That's just normal. Have a little ABC in there. There's nothing surprising in that. Now, what I'm also noting in here is that we closed. If I say, this is about half the candle body, that's right about where we closed. So there's really nothing thrilling in here for the bears. I see a lot of bullishness. I see volume is giving us some clues. We'll get into that. So what else can I say? The only other thing too that I'm looking at here is, as far as up thrust, that's indication of buying climax, or the selling here is noted in the wick. And the lower shadow, I've got more lower shadow than wick, so I think that also is a little bit has something to say. And then if we take, we just kind of go just mid-channel, that's also right about where we're at too. So I don't see anything really overly bearish. Let me queue up next some other charts here. Last week we was looking at Bollinger Bands and moving averages. Just nothing here except here was our previous resistance, this flat base. I'm going to be bringing that up a lot. And that's kind of where the 20-day is. And the 20-day is your sort of your middle way. It's not a short term. It's not one of the longer terms. It's kind of your middle ground. And that's it. Close that one up. So let's see. I was hearing transportations took a little bit of a hit. IYT, and here is comparing it to the rest of the sectors. Of course, defense is just in global shipping. But where's our transportation is, here's our transportations right here compared to the rest of the sectors. So I don't think it's really shouting anything profound at us there. So let's see. We go into chart patterns here, and we're looking at this is a high and tight flag. Okay. Difference between a high and tight flag is I see guys they want to draw this your standard flag in here and either call that a high and tight, or they'll just draw it horizontal and just call it a regular flag. There's a difference. There's a big difference, and I'll tell you what, the high and tight flag, when it has a horizontal, is just a much better in terms of performance. Okay, so we didn't get a full equidistance off of that flag, but we did get we're getting support off of it. So that's what I mean. You know, these flat bases are just powerful. This is the market put in a lot of time and effort and volume into feeling this level out. So I would be very surprised to see this area down in here breach below this 1920 level. I would just be very surprised. And then when we get into volume, we'll also examine more of this. You know, I think this was Monday here. We had this upthrust action, and and there wasn't much volume behind that too. We'll get into that later. And then we have this is a hanging man. So that was pretty much telling us that we're going to have some sort of pullback. Now let's see, hardly worth mentioning. Yeah, this is a round top formation, but you know what? It's not really worth until this level is breached. It's not really a round top. You know, same with the double bottom, same with head and shoulders patterns. It's not really a pattern until it breaks the confirmation. Now, Friday's close is near midpoint. If we look at the SPY, it's definitely, and you know, I always go over this midpoint rule of mine. So I'm gonna go ahead and classify this as a tweezer bottom reversal because we're close enough to that midpoint. Okay, that's where I, you know, draw the line, is midpoint of the previous candle. Also, you know, higher low here on Friday. So we're seeing resistance here become support. And that's, again, that's just your basic fundamental, tops become bottoms, bottoms become tops, support, you know, becomes resistance, resistance becomes support. Now let's get into some volume. Okay, let's see here. First one, I've kind of zoomed out a little bit so we can see this low volume area that, and that's this previous area of resistance is even more activity going on here. You know, volume-wise, that's where our 6-month point of control. That's the most volume by price. That's activity that's taking place in that 6-month period, and I don't think it'll get there just because, you know, this volume node, I wouldn't call it a high volume node, but it is growing, and that's where I would be surprised if we went below that. Right now, we are currently, if we take from, you know, these highs, that's kind of the support that we're getting off of there. That's just not as strong a support as I would suspect that we'd see if we drop below that. I think it's quite possible to get below that. I'm not too solid convictions there, but my confidence that this right here holds, you know, between the bottom of this flat base, I think this flat base is going to prove to be a good bounce point. And I would like to see price get down there, because then that, I think, would be a, you know, one of those diving boards is another kind of a chart pattern that's nice to see. Let's see if we can zoom in on here. I made some other notes. Pull myself over here. So let's see, volume-wise, this upthrust action over here, we found lack of demand going on, and we were getting that down here at below average volume. So I think that's this candle here. Now on the SPX chart, the S&P 500 index, this hanging man, which is not really a hanging man on, but here we check supply, and we didn't have a successful test of supply because we moved down lower. So and I know successful test supply, that sounds backwards, but that's so here, this below average volume, and it increased a little bit on the move lower, is low volume, and I think that is going to foreshadow and it's coming up here. We'll look at an intraday chart too at stop volume. But we had this little wick, this lower shadow here on above average volume, and then consequently Friday we even had a longer lower shadow on above average volume. So what that's telling me is, most of all, if you even want to call this sell climax volume, it's not really, but that's where we put in this short-term top. So that is climax. It's just not, unless institutions are going to get really sneaky, which I don't want to overthink. I do want to rely somewhat in my analysis on how much volume there is, and that's just a piddly exclusive amount of volume there for a buying climax. So let's see, what else do I have on here? Both Thursday, Friday candles, more lower shadow. Yeah, previous flat base. Here we get a closer look at this. Is the 192 to 193 area. I think is going to be a good line in the sand, really. Let's see what else. Friday close above. Okay, yeah. Here's our here's our midpoint in here, and we're kind of just close enough. I think that is a bullish sign. What else? Now let's look at the intraday. Intraday on Friday. Now, let's see. They do have a little bit of divergence is a little off for the bullish case, but here's this long lower shadow on the hourly, this hourly chart, and you can see how the volume. We go back to this. Here was our buying climax, and that's how much. We got a little bit of a little, not much, not really much to speak of, but we're putting in more stop volume on the selling climax. And yeah, I think I am going to call that a selling climax if I'm going to compare it to the buying climax. You've got exceeding volume to that. So I do think that is a very bullish sign in volume. And you can also kind of get a closer view of this this whole stair-stepping that we were doing. This was right resistance before we did the big launch up here. And, resistance becomes support. That's it. That's all I want to show you here. There's not much else to look at in terms of, we'll look at some composites. Let's see. Let's look at the monkey bars. It's Thinkorswim's version of a market profile, which I do like to check out on occasion. I think there's not much else. Just last week I was saying that the playground was down here, and I was saying that the playground was going to expand towards price. Price was up here, or anyway. Yeah, I was saying we're going to get some playground expansion, and the playground was going to attract price, and now we're in the middle of the playground. Middle of the playground's about like right here. In the TPO POC, not really seeing anything standing out at me. Just from last week was good indication we're going to see more playground volume activity taking place towards price, and price is going to be kind of a magnetic attraction, I think is what I was saying. Now, on the monthly composite, here we go again. This distribution volume bell curve right here is our previous composites, support, and that's where our TPO POC got placed. And what's I think is bullish about this is we have a pretty strong 4 TPO YPOC is really good support volume. I think that's about it. I'm just going to skip the weekly composite because I just want to point out here on the daily composite, each one of these, this is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and we could see how the initial balance, you have the point of control is on the lower end, and I always say that's kind of an arrow pointing. Same here, and the only thing really I want to just point out is how you can look at the composites and see how the brakes are really being applied, because now you got a TPO, POC up here above this, and it's a long initial balance with a kind of a P style, which is indicative of short covering. So that's just pointing out that the brakes are being applied. Now that's no guarantee. It just means that the speed is slowing down. That's what I always want to point out in terms of speed. And I think that's about it. So that's it with volume. I'm going to get into U.S. Treasuries. Last week I was saying we should find some support off of this trend line. I'm still bullish on Treasuries. I think it's going to, ultimately, I think we'll see a bounce off of this trend line, like I've been saying, that 113 it'll be soft. The 114 I think will be a little bit of a harder resistance, but excuse me. Bullish on Treasuries. Just to recap on S&P, just the volume I think is giving us clues, and the strength of the flat base I think is an important tell on that previous resistance becoming support. So let's see here. U.S. dollar. I should cue these up. Trying to keep the length of these videos down as much as possible. Should have these things queued up. Let's see. So U.S. dollar. I thought, last video I was saying, I thought we'd get a lot more downside off of this. This is definitely high volume blow off the top, but we had some responsive buying down at the 6-month point of control right here. Did a pretty good bounce off of that. And again, when you get a strong move like that, you should suspect there's going to be a little bit of a consolidation. And I'm seeing above average volume on these lower shadows, and I think these lower shadows are very important, along with the wicks, the upper wick. This is your upper wick, this is your little lower shadow, and these are very important when you're looking at volume spread analysis to take into account. You want to look at the length of the candle, you want to look at the size of the body and compare that to the length. It's all kinds of interesting, nifty things in volume spread analysis. Now, in the U.S. dollar, here is the previous resistance, and that is becoming support. So, I'm bullish on U.S. dollar. I think I'm bullish on everything. I think we're getting to the euro, and I have even with my respect to being bullish on U.S. dollar index, I do have a positive bias on the euro. And let's look at the euro next. Okay, why would I be, I can't disregard this. This is huge volume. And I really thought the euro was going to launch off of that. Now, this $1.35 is just a concrete support. I think that a $1.35 is going to hold. I'm seeing, we're getting above average volume here on this right here, and I think now most likely you're just going to see this thing range bound between $1.35 and $1.36. I think we're going to see a lot of sideways action because this isn't really jumping out at me. It is above average volume. I think $1.35 is a line in the sand that's going to be tough to get below that. But then I'm not overly bullish either. I do have, I'm going to say $1.35 range bound between $1.35 and $1.36 with a slight bullish bias. We'll just leave it like that. What else have I got? I think that's it. So I do think that, you know, most likely see some weakness. You know what? I don't know. We could see some weakness. We could see some strength. But ultimately, I think that flat base will hold at the 1925 area on the cash, and I do think the week will be positive. So we'll see. Now, let's end this video with showing you the usual, HotStockMarket.com. That's where you can find my, you know, I have some non-index trading. You want to see what I'm trading? It's in here. It's all in here. Keep a full list of my stuff. All my charts and analysis are in there. I want to also mention this is Reddit, subreddit Stock Market, another place to find information. And that's it. Have a happy Father's Day, and I will see you all on the boards.